Rivalry games are supposed to be fun, but this one, in my opinion, is not. Michigan versus Michigan State. It doesn't really matter that Michigan State is not that good at the moment, but yet here we are on the precipice of what looks to be a Michigan win on paper. But let's get into it. We're going to do so on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Tuesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hull, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. And yeah, I don't like this week at all. I haven't for quite some time. It is not a fun week whatsoever, even when Michigan is heavily favored on paper. I believe Michigan's a 24.5 favorite on FanDuel. So that just goes to show you exactly where this one's supposed to be, right? I mean, it's not a game in which Michigan is expected to struggle much, right? This is certainly one where the Wolverines are expected to win handily, and I'm right, 24.5 on FanDuel. Over under is at 47.5. Michigan money line at negative 2,800. Michigan State at plus 1160. Again, according to FanDuel. So this is a game where Michigan is expected to win by a huge margin. Michigan's won every game by 24 points. So and they've won the last several by significantly more. So it stands to reason that, yeah, the Wolverines would win by that much. But what do the Spartans actually bring to the table? We'll get to that here in a few. But why don't I like this week? I mean, obviously, you know what happened in the postgame, but I remember all week last year, right? Michigan State wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good last year either. I was kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was saying that on the sidelines all game. I'm like, I hate this game. I'm not looking forward to what we're literally living through at the moment. I just want it to be over. I want it to be in the rear view because you know that something stupid is going to happen. And sure enough, even though you got through the game, something stupid happened in the immediate aftermath of said game. So it's one of those things where it's just like you hope that nothing stupid happens. And even just talking to some of the players this evening, they won't take any of the bait, right? I asked Drake Nugent, like, hey, I didn't even get through the whole question. I was like, when you look at this game, what happened after last year? And he was like, listen, it's not something that we're really talking about. I think that was kind of a tell. I think that is something that they are talking about. But Mikey Sainers still says, hey, it's we want to win this game and we want to do it clean. That's kind of where they are. Because that there's just going to be some ridiculousness. Now, the good news, I think, with Michigan State being in a 2-4 state right now, as far as its record is concerned, they're not out there being super obnoxious. They're right now the only thing they're being obnoxious about is for some reason they are convinced they're getting Urban Meyer as their head coach, which that seems absolutely like it's not happening. And even if it does, I don't know that it works out for them the way that it did for Ohio State. But nonetheless, I mean, it's normally this week you get just a lot of chirping, a lot of personal insults and things of that nature. I've seen people do that to Michigan fans, do that to Rico and Chris Solari and some of those other types of guys. But I just hate it, right? Because it's just not genteel at all. It's the Ohio State rivalry. It's not as vicious, right? And you don't think that there's going to be there might be like a ridiculous play on one way or the other, right? Like you can think back to, JT is short, something like that. You can think to like just some of the, Garrett Wilson making some kind of incredible catches, type of thing. But when it comes to, or obviously looking on the Michigan side, Donovan Edwards or Hassan Haskins, the things that they did in the game. But generally, there's not like this like crazy extracurricular. It's maybe they get in each other's face for a few moments, but that's really it, right? It's not like, man, that just got out of hand. Michigan State, it's that you're waiting for the other shoe to drop at some point. And for whatever reason, their fans are convinced themselves, oh, it's all Michigan. It's not Michigan ever. I mean, the worst of it is maybe like Taylor Lewan said some stuff before a game, right? Not in the game, and which hopefully we're going to get Taylor Lewan on this week. But Taylor and I are trying to work that out maybe as soon as Wednesday's show. But it's like that's the worst of it, right? Is like, does someone say something before or after the game? Is it Mike Hart, little brother? They feel on the other side like it gives them like the license and ability to do whatever they want as a result. We all know about Will Golston and the Denard face mask incident. You know, you see guys making cheap shots and all that kind of stuff. And it would just be nice if we could get through this week with a nice, clean game without any kind of controversy. I know controversy helps me because everyone wants to tune in. You know, everyone wants to, watch or listen to the podcast. Everyone wants to read all the articles, all the reactions. Like, it's great for business, but it is not good for the emotional state. I don't want to deal with it. I hope that this is just a nice, clean game, one way or the other. And it is certainly a game that Michigan is heavily favored, regardless if Michigan wasn't, if it was supposed to be a tight game or whatever. I just feel like this would be one where it's like, please, can we just get through it without any kind of incident, because it's just always got something to it. I know that they share a tunnel at Spartan Stadium. I'm curious to see what if they have any precautions and whatever. Heaven forbid anyone skips at any point, apparently, because assault with a deadly weapon then therefore is on the table. Just want this week to be over with. Let's just get to the bye week, people. All right. We're going to continue on here, and we're going to discuss what Michigan State brings to the table as far as where they stand statistically. We're just going to go literally via the stats and all of that. And we'll do that here in just a moment. Before we do, think about all of the times in which I have told you about how I have just made, getting concert tickets, sporting events, all of those things, how it's made difficult when you're trying to do things last minute. It might be sold out. Maybe it's not sold out necessarily, but the ticket vendor has got inflated prices. Guess what? Make life a lot easier going to gametime.co. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next event. Maybe you're trying to get tickets now for under $100 to Michigan at Michigan State. Certainly, I implore you to do that. But, go ahead and maze out the woodshed, as they call it. Gametime is fast and easy, and it's the best way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater events near you with last-minute ticket deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Like I said, tickets for under $100 right now for this upcoming Saturday's game. So I've told you, there's so many great things. My favorite is the seat views. You can see exactly what you're going to be seeing from the seat you're going to be sitting in. That's the best part. But the lowest price guarantee is also fantastic. Also, they have event cancellation protection, job loss protection, all of those things. So if something happens, you are covered. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect from your purchase. It's the only ticketing app, Gametime is, that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal without all those hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege. You get $20 off your first purchase. If you're getting a ticket for $90, take $20 off that. That's the great thing. Terms apply. Again, can create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. Now, the other part of that is that if you are out there thinking like, I just want to play some fantasy, even when it comes to college or whatever, PrizePicks has got you covered. PrizePicks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on a 2 to 6 player stat projection and watch the winnings roll in. With quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, an enormous selection of players and stat types, that's what makes PrizePicks the number one daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. That's today. PrizePicks discounts its player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. And they also now offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. So I'm just a big fan. You can look at the stats. You can look at the matchups. We're about to go over all the stats with Michigan State right now. Make your life a heck of a lot easier by understanding that, and then you go right into PrizePicks and do it. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Use the code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Use the code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. It is so that is what I highly recommend. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right. I feel like a mix between high energy and stumbling because I try to talk too fast. Don't know what my deal is. All right. Michigan State by the numbers. We're just going to look at kind of the rankings, what they're averaging on a game-by-game basis. We'll kind of go a little bit deeper in as well. I am here on the lovely CFB Sports, CFB Stats.com. So as you know, Michigan's offense is not like crazy good compared to like maybe the last couple of years when it's been like up in the 20s because they haven't had a need to because games are over halfway through the third quarter. Michigan's 54th. Where does Michigan State compare? That's good to know, obviously. Michigan State is all the way down. I had them right there, 98. They're averaging 349.3 yards per game. So when you look at their per game, what they've done, I mean, they've had a couple games. Obviously, the first two games were better than not. Those are the two that they eclipsed 400 yards. 406 yards against Central Michigan, 465 against Richmond. They were pretty confident coming out of that Richmond game. Obviously, that kind of changed when Mel Tucker got canned, but sorry, a little hydration there. But only 261 yards against Washington. That was their second least. Their least actually came against Rutgers, 239. They got 106 rush yards. Second least of the or third least of the season, 133 passing yards against Rutgers. That was the least of the season. So Rutgers really shut them down. Keep in mind, again, Michigan thought Rutgers was the toughest team, but toughest defense they were going to play until Penn State. Washington is where they had the least amount of rushing yards, 53. Washington not necessarily. We'll look at their rush defense here momentarily, but Michigan State's offense not doing a heck of an amazing job. Not eclipsing 400 yards. If I was to guess, and we can take the guesswork out of it, and we can just look real quick, that Michigan's probably eclipsed more than 400 yards easily. And let's see. Oops, I have the other. I had it up here. There we go. Yes. Well, except for Bowling Green, 312 yards against Bowling Green, but other than that, 400 plus yards every game. 402, 492, 312, 415, 436, 432, 407. 400 yards is kind of that benchmark you want to hit, right? So it's I think that kind of tells you a little bit there. So that is the total offense. Obviously, rushing offense has been just kind of whatever. Michigan State's 111th, averaging 117.67 yards per game. Offensively, they're a little bit better at passing the ball, not by a heck of a lot. They're actually tied with Michigan at 70th in the country, 231.7 passing yards. So with that in mind, obviously Michigan's rushing offense is better at 41. It's kind of surprising Michigan's down that far, but again, they haven't really had a heck of a big need to be just absolutely nuts with rushing the football. So there's that. Scoring offense, let's take a look at that real quick, because obviously Michigan State is not putting up a ton of points. 109th in the country, tied with Northwestern at 22 points per game. So Michigan, conversely, is doing a heck of a lot better. Number 10 in the country, 39.4, just slightly behind Georgia in their output. Second in the Big Ten behind Penn State. Although if this was the new Big Ten, behind multiple Big Ten teams. But it isn't. So anyway, Scoring defense, Michigan's number 1 in the country, allowing 6.7 yards per game, or points per game. Michigan State is literally near the halfway point. They are allowing 24.3. They're 61st in the country. Not putting up crazy numbers here. We just look at what they put up. 31 against Central Michigan, 45 against Richmond. They haven't eclipsed the 30-point mark since 7, 9, 16, and 24. So right within that region of, I mean, they can put up points. They have yet to do so. So, and they're 2-3 against unranked opponents, 0-1 against the one ranked team that they played. So that tells you a lot. I mean, yeah, their schedule is number 7, Washington, 2, Michigan, 3, Ohio State, 6, Penn State. Woo! Lots of fun as far as that's concerned. Total defense, Michigan is number 2 in the country, allowing 233.1 yards, right there in the wheelhouse of the Michigan State Spartans. But Michigan State actually has a decent defense when it comes to yards allowed. 335 in the overall rankings. They allow 334 yards per game. But when you look at what they've allowed in some of these games here, that's 219 against Central Michigan, 193 against Richmond, 362 to Maryland, which obviously is a team that has a pretty good offense, 222 against Iowa, that's no surprise, and 295 against Rutgers. Would it be a lot better if they didn't give up 713 yards to Washington? Now, will Michigan get that many yards? No. I can tell you with a probably pretty strong degree of certainty that no, Michigan will not be accumulating 713 yards. They gave up 177 rushing yards to the Huskies and 536 passing yards to Michael Penix. Would love to see JJ have a 536 passing yard day. That's a wild number. So what do they stop more efficiently when it comes to that? Obviously, they're a heck of a lot better at stopping the run than the pass. Passing defense-wise, Michigan, its defense is 142. That's how much they allow per game. They are second in the country behind only Penn State. I'm not even going to search. I'm going to tell you that Michigan State's going to be down near the bottom when it comes to passing because they gave up so much. And I actually am surprisingly wrong. They're not at the very bottom like I thought they'd be. They're 57th in the country, despite all of that, allowing 219.2 yards per game. You would think that would be a lot different. But I guess when you look at the overall here, I mean, 96 passing yards to Central Michigan, 118 to Richmond, 223 to Maryland, 161 to Iowa, 181 to Rutgers. Now, Iowa, not going to pass the ball a lot. You don't expect them you expect Central Michigan and Richmond to struggle. Maryland, holding Maryland at 223 yards is pretty solid. I mean, I think we can all agree with that. But Rutgers at 181 is probably about what you expect Rutgers to be. So we'll see what Michigan does in that light. But 57th, that's a vast improvement, believe it or not. As far as stopping the run, they're 32 in the country. They allow 114.83 yards per game. So defensively, they seem to be a little bit better than they've been in recent years. So it is incumbent upon Michigan to do what it can. Now, let's look at a couple more things here. Opponent red zone. Michigan is the best in the country. There have been 9 attempts in the red zone overall and 3 scores, 1 touchdown, 2 field goals. That's it. That's all Michigan's given up. They have yet to allow a first and goal, even as of yet. Michigan State is 21st. They're allowing red zone at 72.73. They've allowed, on 22 attempts, 16 scores, 11 touchdowns, 5 field goals. So that's where they're at there. Opponent third downs, that is Michigan is 16th defensively as far as that's concerned. So pretty good. But Michigan State actually number 3rd. They're only allowing 24.68% of conversions there. Michigan's allowing 31.46. How much of that is decided by garbage time? I'm not sure. Sacks, Michigan State, I would imagine they'll have a higher number than Michigan. Michigan's 32 in the country with 18 sacks. Teams get rid of the ball really fast against Michigan, yet that's where that. Michigan State's actually got 14. They're 67th. So they have 4 less sacks. They have 1 less game than Michigan, however. as far as third down conversions themselves, Michigan is 4th at converting offensively, and Michigan State, however, is they're only converting on 35.9%. And last thing I want to look at is the opponent long scrimmage plays. How does their defense do when it comes to allowing long scrimmage plays? We're going 10 plus yards. They're 26th in allowing 10 plus yards. They've allowed 74. 20 plus yards. Michigan's 4th in the country at stopping those. Michigan State is 41st. So they've allowed quite a few. When it comes to 50 plus yards, I mean, Michigan's probably not going to be ranked pretty high because they've given up a couple long ones. But Michigan's 54th in the country at those super long ones. And Michigan State's 36th. So that's just the basic stats there. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about what they bring to the table here in just a moment. Before we do that, now is the time for the game changer of the week, brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. Much like, I'm going to go with J.J. McCarthy. Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They may not make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. J.J. McCarthy didn't necessarily have a super flashy, crazy week, but he did make a couple big plays. He was 14 for 17. He had 3 touchdown passes, was really good on the day. But obviously, when you think about the plays he made, it's both the touchdown pass to Colston Loveland, where he was on a scramble and he pointed, hey, keep going, threw him in a perfectly placed ball, allowed him to make a play with it, yards after catch, as well as the pitch to Donovan Edwards that made all the difference. So Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. Their brews are great tasting and award-winning, beat out full-strength beers in global competitions. And they're constantly releasing limited edition experimental styles to add to their variety. You can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you, or you can buy online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use the code LOCKEDON to get 15% off of your first online order. That's locked on at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer, exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. All right, let's continue on here. So who does Michigan State have that's doing much of anything? Let's start with the passer. Kattenhauser is the one who is expected to be the dude, the starter here after Noah Kim went for a while. He had spot duty for the most part, played in every game except for Iowa. At Rutgers, he was 18 for 29, completing 62.1% of his passes for 133 yards. That's an average of 4.6 yards per attempt. He had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He has 1 interception on the year. It was against Maryland. So he's the one who's expected to be the guy. Noah Kim was 91 for 160, 56.9%. He was averaging 6.8 yards per attempt. He has over 1,000 yards passing. He's had 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So that's Kattenhauser's the one that we're obviously anticipating. Now, their leading rusher is Nate Carter. He splits time with Jalen Berger, although Jalen Berger has he didn't play a couple games, didn't play against Washington or Maryland. He did play against Rutgers and get 11 for 49. Nate Carter, however, had he's played every game. He had 20 for 52 against Rutgers, 20 for 108 against Iowa. He tends to average about 5 yards per carry, but he did not against Rutgers. Obviously, this is the best rush defense that they'll have seen to this point. They've got a couple other guys, but we don't really need to get into those. Kattenhauser had in 5 games 11 attempts for 5 yards, so not much of a run threat. Noah Kim was more of a run threat. 27 for 53. Not a heck of a lot going there, though. So that is what they've got. Now, receiving-wise, there is no Keon Coleman, no Jalen Naylor, no Jaden Reed, no what's-his-face that they played at UNLV, Ricky White. Montori Foster is your leading receiver. I say your, and I know it's not yours, but nonetheless. They've got 8 total receiving touchdowns, by the way. That's less than Roman Wilson has. But Montori Foster Jr. has 24 receptions for 274 yards. He averages 11.42 yards per catch, 1 touchdown. Trey Mosley right behind him, 23, 228. And then Jaron Glover is a little bit more. He's a freshman. He's a little bit more of a deep threat because he's got similar yards on half the catches, 12 for 227, 18.92. Malik Carr from Oak Park, familiar name, tight end who had originally committed to Purdue. He has 17 catches for 169 and a touchdown as well. Christian Fitzpatrick, I believe from Waterford. I remember his recruitment. Has got 8 for 169, and Tyrell Henry has 9 for 93. That's the bulk of the guys that you're going to see as far as that's concerned. As far as tackles and all of that, no surprise, Cal Halliday leads in tackles, but mostly the DBs are the ones getting the tackles, not the linebackers. Malik Spencer, Dylan Tatum, Angelo Gross, Jaden Mangum are your main tacklers for this team. When it comes to tackles for loss, Zion Young was one of the people in the thing. 4.5 tackles for loss. Cal Halliday has 4. They're your leaders there. As far as sacks are concerned, Brandon Wright and Aaron Brule are your leaders with 2 each. Simeon Barrow Jr. has 1.5, as does Zion Young. Cal Halliday, Chester Kimbrough, Jacoby Windman, and some others have 1 each. So not necessarily a team that's getting in the backfield for sacks, but as far as tackles for loss, and we'll have to let's just take a look real quick at the overall here. Tackles for loss, Michigan State's generally been good, but they're 80th in the country with 35. So again, by comparison, Michigan is 23 with 45. So Michigan has 10 more tackles for loss. Not exactly a great outfit compared to what we would normally think of with Michigan State. It is what it is. All right, that's going to do it for our little numbers breakdown and fearfulness of shenanigans and all of that in this upcoming game. We'll continue to dig on. Hopefully we have Taylor Lewan tomorrow. We will find out tomorrow. But nonetheless, if not, we will talk about what the coaches and everybody had to say going into the game. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon. Peace.